Raphael, first of all, we know that this is not exactly the fight that you originally wanted. You've been understandably and rightfully asking for a title shot. Just tell us a little bit more about how the negotiation process was for you to get this fight with Marlon.
Yeah, it was. We had to renegotiate. So I got a new contract, got a new deal. A little bit more money, not substantial, but we renegotiated, and the main event was offered. First of all, for me, it's not about just being a main event, but it is a main event. It is a lot of eyes on us, and it gets to it proves me, right. So if I ever, if I'm gonna be a champion, this is a good start of a proving ground. Being a main event fight, and also was part of the finalization of the negotiations and the new contract.
And this is more of a, because I've talked to fighters and about rematches, and you've prepared for him before, so I'm sure the camp has a little bit of a feeling of deja vu or something. For some fighters it's fine, but some fighters get a little bit annoyed. How was it for you, like preparing for the rematch? Did it bother you at all? Like, how was the preparation process?
No, I mean, I look at it as a whole different new fight.
Yeah.
For me, is a whole different ball game. The physical attributes are going to be similar, because of we know each other physically, but as MMA fighters, we are constantly changing and improving.
Yeah.
And a lot of factors, right, comes into play. So I don't think you will be the exact fight. Obviously,
Yeah.
it will not be the exact fight, but I look at it as a whole total different fight. My approach is totally different. His approach is probably totally different. So I'm prepared to be a whole new fight.
You won that one, so there's that. But it was sort of a close fight, right? Going into this one, do you put that, I'm not going to say pressure, but do you want it to make it more incisive, more emphatic, or are you just really focused on getting the win again?
Yeah, and I pressure myself either way. I'm always very self-critic. I'm always pressuring myself to be a better fighter, a better athlete, to change my game. I usually don't like my past fights.
Yeah.
It's just something I have.
Oh, really? You look back and you don't like them?
I don't like none of them, but I win a lot of them. So it's kind of like a hard to balance,
Mm-hmm.
to where I stay humble and still improve, and to be self-critic and still keep me hungry and improving. So that's one of the I've been saying in a lot of my interviews a little bit of my characteristic,
Yeah.
how I handle myself as a fighter, and I feel I'm still improving. Keeps me hungry. If I don't like something, I try to improve, and I work on my strong points as well, and that kind of like my own characteristic as a MMA fighter.
You talked about watching the fight again. I know some fighters don't really like rewatching fights a bunch of times, and they really leave it up to their coaches. Do you watch a lot? Like, this fight with Marlon, how many times? Do you know how many times you've watched it back?
Yeah, just twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, probably twice, and then the coaches usually do a lot of the jobs. I think I watched it last month, which they had the UFC. They had the preview.
Yeah.
And they had me watching the fight, and they were doing a preview, and then they had him watching the fight, doing a preview, and that's kind of like a refresh. I was like, oh yeah, okay. You can kind of see some of the things, but the rest of the work, the coaches does the rest. They tell me, what we need to work on. I'm sure his coaches are doing the same thing. That's kind of how I play it out.
I think everybody is treating this really as a number one contender fight. Dana White has already said that this is the number one contender fight, but you've heard that before too.
Yeah.
So how do you go into it? Do you have those expectations going into this fight?
Yeah, I do have the expectation of being the number one contendership fight. As you said, I've mentioned and I've hoped and I've been in that situation many times. Hopefully this time it's gonna work, you know. And right now the task at hand is Marlon Moraes once again, and that's all I have in mind right now. But obviously, in the very back of my mind, I have the contendership fight, and the champion needs to get his stuff together and defend his title. You know, it's going back and forth. You know, now that they were talking about, you know, a title defense against Cejudo and now going up. So that kind of complicates a little bit, but I'm resilient. I'm pretty positive it's going to work out fine my way.
That was my next question, because we saw right after his fight with Cejudo, like immediately they talked about the rematch. Cejudo brought it up, and then Dillashaw seemed to be okay. And, you know, how do you, as a fighter who has been right there for so long, feel seeing something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something. I try not to be frustrated a lot of times because otherwise you're gonna just be a frustrated person, you know. But there's not much more to say. When I looked, I was like, oh man, that's not good, you know. When he said that, and but I think TJ should have stayed at his weight and should have done what he was supposed to do at 135. He went down to 125, and now I'm sure he repent, you know, of what happened. He should have stayed at his weight class and take responsibility at his weight class. So that's what I think. I think he should have, just like when I should have fought for the title before, and then Cody took my place and it didn't go well twice for him. You know, in the back of my mind, I don't want to be a hater, but then I was like, yeah, see, that's what you get. It should have been my turn. Same with TJ. That's what you get. It should have been you defending your own title.
Do you think so? What you said, do you think maybe he regretted going down?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he should have stayed 135 and should have taken care of business at 135.
And you did say that you try not to let that get to you too much, because otherwise you're going to get distracted, right, from the task at hand. So how do you stay motivated and focused? Like, do you have anything, what gets you up every morning to go to training? Like, how do you do to stay focused and not let the noise get to you?
Yeah, first of all, I'm a working man. I'm a company man. You know, as I said, even to my UFC bosses, I've had told them, hey, look, I'm a company man, you know. Yeah. I have never missed weight. True. They test me twice a month at home, you know. Last test, they knocked at my door at 7 in the morning to test me, do the USADA. I had never missed anything that they asked me to do. So what else do I have to, you know. I wish I can knock everybody out, but at the top level, as we all know, it's hard task, you know. It's not easy to do that. You know, props to my opponent. You know, his last two fights had some good performances. I'm a different fighter, so, you know, I'll showcase that.
And let's see, with Marlon, I did see an interview that you did, and you mentioned that you guys had a camp together or trained together at some point.
Yeah, we trained. I was at a training camp that he was part of in Florida. Yeah. It's just brief. Just very brief kind of training sessions and what was going on. I don't think it was substantial to where we knew each other. Like I said, in MMA, so many factors. We changed so much, and there's so many of those factors involved in the actual performance, in the actual fight, in the actual training session, that it's probably irrelevant, you know, maybe the physical attributes I mentioned before, the physical attributes, you know, you can kind of feel, oh, he's strong here, or he's strong there. But we all know anyways, you know, the high-level guys, we are at the top of the weight class. We all know each other's attributes, physical attributes anyways. So it doesn't really change so much.
And lastly, for me, I remember last time we spoke, you said you were willing to this time give it some time, right? Wait it out to kind of wait for that title shot. Is that where your mind is at right now? Would you be willing to maybe not be as active as you would like to wait for the shot?
Yeah. Yes. Probably won't be as active. Winning this fight, that kind of sets the stage for me to be in a good position.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm looking. I have a hard fight in front of me, and that's what I'm focused on. And then after that, I just hate to be the guy sitting around.
Yeah.
That's why I took the fight. Part of the negotiation was taking the fight and staying active and being a workman, right?
Yeah.
I'm just sit at home, a whole year doing nothing, just training. So that was part of my comeback here and getting and accepting the rematch and renegotiating the whole thing. But if everything goes my way, pray to God everything goes well, no injuries. Take some time off, definitely, and then wait for the long-awaited title shot.